shining a light on the women creating an impact, leading organizations and mission-focused strategic programs across the federal technology and consulting community. This is Impact. I am being joined today by Ratima Kataria, the Chief Strategy and Growth Lead, Health Analytics, Research and Technology at ICF. Thank you for joining me today.
A very good morning, Marianne. It's my pleasure to be here. Very nice to see you virtually.
Yes, same. So first, start by telling me what it is you do over there as the Chief Strategy and Growth Lead at ICF.
Absolutely. So I joined ICF about 6 months ago. The way ICF is structured is we are organized by capabilities, and the line of business that I support, they're primarily focused on exactly what that name says is health, analytics, research, and technology. So our clients tend to be NIH, a lot of the research domain work they do in addition to the technology, data analytics kind of work. NIH, VA, CMS, those are our typical clients. And I lead our health strategy and growth initiatives there. Essentially, I'm a bridge builder and a dot connector, given ICF is a system integrator. I help understand and get a better understanding of the client problem space and try to bring the solutions to bear, not just through the line of business that I am supporting at ICF, but bring the best of ICF and the best of ecosystem in terms of the solution scape to the clients. That's what I do in my day job.
So let's learn about your life and your story. What personal experiences have you found most rewarding in shaping your professional journey, and what have positively influenced your leadership style?
There are so many different ways, Mary, and I can answer that. I'll try to share a couple of different aspects of it. One is just in terms of some of my background is I have a very technical background in college. I graduated with electronics engineering major. So did a lot of hands-on development work for a number of years in my career in the beginning part, in the first chapter of my career. So having had that technical background is I was always very, very motivated and inspired by ability to create solutions and problem solve. So that essentially led into a very strong desire to helping clients. In spite of, in the first part of my career, although it was more of a hands-on development kind of work, but I always had a very client-facing role in a way, and also helping in a growth enabler role. So with that being said, is whenever I saw a client's problem being solved, whether it was for their product, for their mission, for their business and organization, that just would make me so excited and was so gratifying. So kind of combining the technical background, the problem solving, creating solutions, wanting to help the clients, it ended up developing in me a lot of passion for the mission. I have been in the healthcare space for the last 10 years, and I continue to do so because I'm very passionate about the mission. So those are the kind of things that led into becoming who I am in my career right now. You also asked about, how have they positively influenced my leadership style? That's a very interesting part of the question. I've had several spot mentors throughout my career, and I have picked up so many great things. I've been very fortunate to be surrounded by very strong leaders. The one thing that I have learned in and I have incorporated in my leadership style, I'm really hoping to also pass it on to the emerging leaders and the people around me as well, is when you're working in an organization, a lot of times organizations can be siloed or people have their own groups or divisions or what have you, and they want to operate within that particular sector of the business with not a whole lot of motivation and desire to reach across the aisle and collaborate with other parts of the same organization, let alone outside of their organization, right? And that has ended up working for a number of people. They have figured out a certain recipe for their success. But my observation and learning experience from my own journey is that with operating in that manner, you will only go so far in terms of achieving business outcomes, in terms of your own professional, personal growth, in terms of gaining that credibility and respect in your ecosystem. So having a much broader view and not trying to necessarily follow the mantra of knowledge is power. Some people think knowledge is power and take it in sort of a negative direction by hoarding it, right? Don't hoard it. Yes, knowledge is power, which means the more you spread it, the more you share it, the more you are yourself going to learn and gain from it. So that is a big part of my leadership style, is not hoarding information and not working in a silo or in a small sector, but reaching across the aisle, doing the knowledge share, collaborating, being a bridge builder. That's a big part of what I would like to say, what folks recognize as part of my leadership style, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I've definitely worked in both of those offices, the ones that where everybody's siloed and the ones where people work together. And the ones where people work together run much more smoothly, especially if you see, say, for example, sales and marketing, when they're not talking to each other, things just never get done right. But if everybody's communicating with each other, things just flow so much better.
Absolutely. And as I said, still use the knowledge is power mantra, but in a positive way by
Mhm.
sharing it and not by hoarding it. That's the differentiation there to be drawn. And I see that some folks struggle with it, right? They want to make that change. Some of it probably comes from a level of insecurity. They feel that by
Yeah.
sharing it, they're going to lose their edge, they're going to lose their spot. But honestly, once you start getting out there, you will see the difference in how people perceive you, the way people respect you, the credibility you gain. You just become a lot more effective leader. And to me, the best form of compliment or flattery is when people start imitating your behavior. If you share more people tend to follow your example. You lead by example, and I think that's the best form of compliment you can receive.
I agree. I agree. So now, what methods do you use to stay inspired and continue your growth as a leader? And how do you turn challenges into opportunities for development?
A few different things, Marianne. The first and the foremost, which is a big part, especially in the kind of industry and ecosystem that I'm a part of right now, is networking. And when I say networking, I mean both internal and external. So surrounding yourself with like-minded people, I find that very inspiring. Is you gain from people's leadership style, you gain knowledge of relevant business things that are taking place, which help you make better business decisions on a day-to-day basis and make better choices. So networking, I think, internally is extremely important with your peers, colleagues, folks above you, below you, all parts, so all 360-degree aspects of it. And then externally with the government leaders, the industry leaders. I'm a strong believer of networking. You probably see that from my profile is I like to shape conferences, attend conference, get out there and talk to people. So I really find that as it helps me stay inspired and helps with continuous growth as a leader, and it makes me better in my day job. And very importantly is I love connecting with people who are change makers, not folks who are just trying to keep the lights on, who are trying to do their 9 to 5. I love connecting with people who are out there who want to be constructively disruptive and bring a big change, and we all need change makers internally and externally. And I love collaborating with people who have a can do attitude versus naysayers. It
Hmm.
is so easy to take a path of whether you're working on an opportunity, where you are working on building a relationship, whether you are working on a solution. It is so easy to find 10 different reasons why you should not do it or you cannot do it. And I always like to take the path of, well, how can we do it? Give me two ideas or two reasons why we should do it and can do it. So kind of, looking for that positive and a glass half full mentality. I love to surround myself with those people. That's one element of it, networking. The second is I like to read a lot. The landscape is evolving so rapidly. Few months ago, we were all still trying to figure out artificial intelligence and Gen AI and Chat GPT, and that's evolving so rapidly. There are a number of things that just continue to evolve. So, reading a lot, we all may not be doing hands on work in every single emerging technology and evolving space every single day, but reading a lot, paying close attention to what people are saying. A lot of times, folks are talking to you, they are listening to you, but they really are listening to you because they are just waiting to react and respond back to you. I like to listen to people and try to internalize it and pay attention to what they are trying to say. And that helps you also become better in your day job if you're trying to do problem solve and bring solutions to bear. So continuous learning and being curious, that's another big mantra of mine, is always being curious. So that's one aspect of it. The other thing that I would like to share is another big thing that's kind of personal method to the madness for me. I'm a type A personality. I'm a talker. I like to get out there, talk to people, and make an impact. But I also, so most people that know me would classify me as an extrovert. If you bring up my name, the first thought that comes to their mind is probably an extrovert. But I do a lot of introspection too. I take the time in my personal space and time after a long day or over the weekend to do some reflection and self assessment. Is how can I continue to become a better version of myself? I'm a strong believer of human beings are work in progress. They will always remain work in progress for their entire life, from the time you are a child to you when you are much older. So that's reflection and self-assessment helps me a lot, continuing to try to become a better version of myself. You also asked Marianne about how do you turn challenges into opportunity for development. There are two things that come to my mind immediately when you say that. In my mind, wherever there is chaos or a level of dysfunction, to me, it screams opportunity. How are you going to make a difference if you are in a place where every single thing is a well-oiled machine? First of all, there is no part of the ecosystem ever in any organization where everything is a forever well-oiled machine. So wherever there is chaos or dysfunction, to me, it screams opportunity for making an impact. And that's where you take the glass half full attitude of, instead of complaining about the situation and being a naysayer and joining that cohort that just complain about things, is figuring out how can I make it better than what I received, right? So in my mind, success is if you can leave something better than when you got it. That is success, right? So that's one element of it. The second element of it is, I'm going to be candid with you, is I talked a little bit earlier about role models. I've had great positive role models, but I've also observed and had fair share in my career of what I call not so great role models, right? Is the anti role models, if there is such a term. I don't know what the exact term is, but I have learned a lot from also observing people of who I do not want to be. As much as you get inspiration and learn from people who you want to be, I've also learned from difficult circumstances and challenging situations who I do not want to be. And that has also helped shape me into who I am. Not to say that I have only positive things right now. I'm sure there's a lot of opportunity for growth. And that's what I mean by continuing to be work in progress.
How can organizations, we're going to talk a little bit about trying to inspire some of the women out there. How can organizations create more supportive environments to nurture and mentor women to become emerging leaders, ensuring a vibrant and inclusive leadership pipeline?
Yeah, Marian, that's a great question. I'm going to again answer this in two different parts. One is,
Okay.
what can organizations do? Organizations are people. And then I want to talk a little bit about what people can personally do, because I think it's a topic that needs to be addressed.
Right.
We all know about imposter syndrome. Men have it, women have it slightly more.
Right.
So, in the way organizations can help the women is similar to what you are doing with the Impact Forum Awards and a number of initiatives that your organization leads, Marianne, is providing women that platform to come out there, speak, feel confident, feel safe, and also be celebrated. I think that is extremely important. So, organizations who can do that more organically internally, plus also help elevate women by providing them that external platform and access to that and encouraging them, I think that's a big part of it. Another big part is human beings, more often than not, get very inspired by storytelling. So, having that role model in your own ecosystem and storytelling of sharing some people's success stories or even their stories of struggle and how they came and rose above it, I think that can be very inspiring to people. More often than not, when you tell a story to a room, I can assure you, a big percentage of the room sitting there thinks, I was feeling the same in some shape or form,
Mm-hmm.
or I have experienced the same. I just didn't know others felt the same. I thought this was unique to me. And a lot of times when women share their struggle and stories about either them not being treated as an equal, or them being treated as invisible in a room or a virtual room, or not having had the infrastructure support to have the right work life balance, or especially when they are in the age and phase of their life when they're having children and raising a family. There are many different types of struggle in different phases of life, right? And many a times you feel, I'm struggling with it myself, I am alone in this, how am I ever going to get above it? And when you hear stories from other people, you're like, oh my gosh, there are so many out there who had similar struggles and they rose above it. And these are some of the things or strategies they employed, either through trial and error method, or because they learned or they had some support infrastructure. I think that can mean a lot for women. That can be so powerful. You are not providing tangible help to someone, but this type of support can really make a difference in someone's life. So that I think is important, is again having that formal slash informal environment where there are role models who are, through storytelling, also enabling and empowering women. There is a lot we usually say about women helping women and women uplifting women. That is a topic that has been spoken about, and the good news is that there are many women who are willing and able and successfully lifting other women. This is where I want to take a little bit of a different nuance angle to what I'm about to share. Is the message has to be both to men and women. The message to the women is, yes, uplift other women, raise your hand, speak with confidence. But the message to the men also is, don't treat a woman as if she's invisible in the room. That happens with so many people, even in today's day
Mm-hmm.
and age, in a professional environment, in personal environments, where it's like, I just said that, but nobody paid attention. And then somebody else says the exact same thing. And it's like, wow, that person is such a great leader. Look at what they said. And I can assure you, Marianne, if you speak to a group of 50 women, at least 25 or 30 out of those 50 will tell you this has happened with them.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, didn't I just say that? Right? You just repeated what I said, but because a man said it, it was taken very differently. Like it came from a strong leader. So
Mm-hmm.
the message is to both. The most important part is, I think we are all talking in today's day and age for the last several years, which is a great thing. We are talking about how to enable and empower women in workplace. And that's phenomenal. But I want to take it way back upstream in the cycle. We got to really start early in how we raise our daughters and sons. So that onus is not just on men, it is even on all the women, the moms and dads, in how you are raising your children, how you're raising your daughters, on what good looks like and what they should expect and what they should not settle for. But it's equally important that you raise your sons to share how to treat a woman in your personal life, in your professional life. Because you know what? Personal behaviors do bleed into professional lives and vice versa. These are not two completely mutually exclusive worlds, right? I'm yet to come across a person who treats women great in their professional lives, but is the exact opposite in personal life. And the
That's
opposite
true.
is also true, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean by your personal behaviors bleed into your professional lives. When you are a child, when you are being raised, when you are absorbing some family values, at that time, you're not necessarily thinking about how is my son going to treat women in a workplace 25 years, 30 years, 40 years from now. And I think that's where you have to start early and, in general, emphasize not just with our daughters on what good looks like and what to accept and not accept and settle for, but raising our sons of how to treat women in the house, outside the house, in the schools, in the society. That automatically is going to translate into them having certain positive behaviors when all of this generation enters the workspace. So I think that is a very important aspect. More often than not, it does not get talked about when we talk about how to treat women in workplace. I think we need to start really early.
Yes, I agree.
I am very passionate about that. So
Yes. So tell me now, what exciting trends or developments in the workplace do you believe will positively shape the future of leadership? And how can leaders best prepare to embrace these changes?
yes, Marianne, there are so many different things come to my mind when we say that. I'm going to try to focus on a couple of them. One is diversity, equity, and inclusion, DNI. Recently, I came across, as I said, as I tend to read a lot, I came across this and was really blown away by the statistics. Do you know there are 39 different types of diversities? When we
Really?
say diversity, we usually think about gender-based
Mhm.
diversity or economic diversity or sexual orientation or racial diversity. These are, or cultural, these are some of the top 4 or 5 that come to our mind. But there are actually 39 types of diversities.
Wow.
That in itself was mind-blowing to me. So I think it's extremely important that we take a very close look at our organization. When we say diversity, we also want to make sure that the pendulum doesn't swing from one extreme to the other. It's very important that whether it is a seat on the leadership table or whether it is our boots on the ground or development teams or any type of team and part of the organization we have, it is extremely important that we make conscious efforts in having a diverse set of people from different types of diversity and backgrounds, because one, we are trying to make sure every from an equity standpoint everybody gets an equal opportunity and has a voice, but also from a business outcome standpoint they actually come at a problem or a situation from very different points of view. That's the power and beauty of diversity. The power and beauty is not because you are on the surface superficially trying to make a room or a panel or a composition of people look different. That's just the surface level. The real value on the power comes from they approach the same problem space in very different ways because of how their experiences have shaped them. And I think that's the true power of diversity, where organizations are going to continue to take advantage of as time goes by. So that's one. The second, and this is something I recently had a very in depth conversation with a very senior federal leader, and I thought it was a very, very powerful streak to hit on. We all have heard about user experience, UX, in the last decades, couple decades, or a significant amount of time. We have heard about UX. We hear about customer experience, CX, and those things. What really struck me is total customer experience or total experience. And that includes your employee experience. And a great and a very simple way to put it would be is if you have disgruntled employee, let's say your employees and your team is working on a client site and working on client projects, which is what happens a lot in the government consulting world that I'm a part of, is if your employees are unhappy and disgruntled, are they really going to put together the best customer experience or develop and build systems and workflows that provide the best customer experience? Human beings are human beings, right?
Right.
So the focus really needs to be on that total experience, which includes your employee experience, all the things that we talked about earlier in our conversation, all of them really contribute to this total experience. Is the employee experience, which bleeds into the total customer experience. And when we say the customer experience, it is not just the systems you build for them. It's not just having a user-friendly system that is as easy as an iPhone to use. It is about the journey that the customer has with you as you are doing the work for them. It's the journey also that matters as much as the end product that matters. So I think the total experience is also, that concept is gaining more momentum. In fact, I would like for it to gain a lot more momentum. I think this is something that can entirely change in how business gets done and provide a lot more gratifying experience and also more impactful end products and services.
Ratima, you are super, super inspiring. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
Marianne, I really appreciate the opportunity to come out here and speak with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you're keeping up to date on the latest episodes, and learn more at govforum.io.